A very good morning. It is Tuesday, the 11th of April, and you are looking at aerial shots of beautiful Belfast today. We are broadcasting live from Belfast, of course, ahead of the US President Joe Biden's eagerly anticipated visit to Belfast to mark 25 years of the Good Friday Agreement. We have a busy 3 hours coming your ways. We have lots of, I suppose, well-known faces, people who have experienced the good and the bad of the Troubles, the likes of singer-songwriter Brian Kennedy. We're going to talk to former international rugby player Nigel Carr. We're going to talk to Joe Brolly and find out why Joe Biden gave him a wedding gift. We've got lots to discuss, and it's all with this beautiful setting of City Hall, Belfast City Hall, where back in 1995, Bill Clinton addressed a crowd of over 80,000 people, all looking ahead to peace. And we are enjoying that today. We're going to discuss a lot and where Belfast and Northern Ireland are going in the future. How are you guys getting on back in Dublin?
Well, now,
oh, good, Tommy.
When we send Alan out, he doesn't get drone footage. Very
fancy drone footage there, Belfast.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I actually did that myself, guys. I was flying up above it earlier on.
Busy weekend.
Up very early this morning.
It looks great there, Tommy. It really does. It looks like it's nearly like you're in the Vatican City or somewhere. It looks fantastic.
Actually, doesn't it?
I mean, I'm saying Belfast is really going places, but not quite the Vatican yet.
Don't worry, our Tommy will have people kissing his ring a little bit later on, and we'll talk to you in just a little while. We'll be catching up with Tommy throughout the morning, but from this end, we've got lots on the way between now and 10 a.m.
And here's a look at what's coming up.
Makeup guru Keilidh MUA will be showing us the new trend. It's called the coquette craze, and guess what?
No.
It's taken over the internet, everybody.
Really?
So it's a cross between Bridgerton makeup and makeup from a time long, long ago, the early 2000s.
2000s.
Which is vintage, everybody.
Vintage.
Vintage makeup on the show today. Vintage.
Now, there's a new mini musical about to happen, How to Leave Your Husband, and it's been called a highly camp roller coaster of emotions. Say nothing. After 9, we're going to be chatting to its creator, the one and only Amanda Brunker.
Were you?
Carry on.
Carry on. I'm
Carry
saying
on.
nothing. Now let's find out what kind of weather we can expect from the day ahead. How's it looking, Derek?
How to Leave Your Husband, guys. Love it on a Tuesday morning anyway. As you saw there with Tommy in Belfast, it's a lovely, dry, bright and settled start out to this morning. Now, we do have problems kicking into the southwest at the moment. Plenty of showers and feet upwards across the country. So we're expecting plenty of rain, plenty of wind. So if you're getting the morning sunshine, guys, enjoy it, because it's a change on the way. It's very cold wearing as well. I'll tell you with your little open toes there in your shoes.
Yeah, it's freezing. Everyone should be in snow
very cold
today.
Yeah,
it's
very cold out there.
Yeah. But now,
let's go over and get our first news of the morning. Here's Aisling Roche.
Thanks, Alan. Good morning. A huge security operation is underway ahead of the US President's arrival later today. President Biden will be joined on the trip by US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. After an engagement in Belfast, Joe Biden's visit will take in Dublin, Louth and Mayo.
A huge security operation is getting underway for the arrival of the US President Joe Biden on the island of Ireland later this evening. Air Force One is due to touch down in Northern Ireland. The visit is part of events marking the 25th anniversary of the signing of the Good Friday Agreement. Tomorrow, Joe Biden is due to meet with political and community leaders in Belfast while at an event in Ulster University before he leaves for Dublin. He's also expected to travel to Louth for possible walkabouts in Dundalk and in Carlingford, where his ancestors came from. On Thursday, Joe Biden will make a formal visit to Orosanoukdron, where he'll meet President Michael D. Higgins, and he's set to address the houses of the Oireachtas, which has seen the Dáil and Shannon recalled during their Easter break. Joe Biden is also due to be guest of honour at a state dinner at Dublin Castle during his time in the city. On Friday, the US President is due in Ballina in County Mayo, where he has more ancestral links. He's due to give a public address in Ballina, where his trip to Ireland comes to an end, and he returns to the US on Air Force One later on Friday. Marie Mulcahy, Virgin Media News.
The OPW has announced that Dublin's Phoenix Park will close completely from Wednesday to Thursday this week to facilitate the visit of Joe Biden. All gates, including pedestrian gates, will be closed during this 24-hour period. The OPW says access will be provided to essential staff working within the Phoenix Park. An investigation is continuing after two 14-year-olds died in a crash in County Galway yesterday. The teenage boy and girl died in the crash in the Ballyfruit area of Headford. Two other teenagers were also seriously injured. They're being treated at University Hospital Galway. In the US, 5 people have died in a shooting in the state of Kentucky. Local police say at least 4 people were killed in the shooting at a bank in Louisville, and the suspected shooter is also dead. 8 other people were injured and at least 2 are in a critical condition. It's understood the attacker was a former bank employee. Around 40% of teachers don't think they'll be in the profession in 10 years' time. The survey by the Teachers Union of Ireland comes ahead of their annual conference this week and also shows that less than a third received a full-time contract when they were initially appointed, and just 13% were offered a permanent contract. The Irish National Teachers Organisation and Association of Secondary Teachers in Ireland are also holding their conferences this week, with all 3 unions highlighting the issues of pay, recruitment and retention. Well, the TUI says that the current situation can be very demoralising for teachers.
A lot of bureaucracy and administration and box-ticking exercises are being put down on teachers. Teachers go to college, spend 6 years in college now, following a very expensive courses, and what do they want to do? They want to teach. That's why they've gone to college. Now what they're finding themselves is buried in bureaucracy and paperwork and initiative overload, so that they find the profession unmanageable. So they start their work at 9 o'clock at night for the next day, and that's unsustainable. And that's why they're saying they're going to leave, yeah.
China has concluded 3 days of live-fire drills around Taiwan in response to President Tsai Ing-wen's recent trip to the United States. The country's large-scale drills simulated strikes on Taiwan and encirclement of the island. State media reports said that dozens of planes had practiced an aerial blockade. Now it's over to Ger for all your sports.
Thanks, Aisling. Bohemians beat Derry City 1-0 in last night's top-of-the-table clash in the SSE Airtricity League. Dean Williams scored the only goal from the penalty spot to send Bohemians 6 points clear at the top of the table. Now let's get some reaction to that top-of-the-table match. Here's Bohemians manager Declan Devine.
I'm ecstatic with the result and the performance. It was out of the opening 9 games, that was 5 away trips, which is very difficult. And they won 7 out of 9 games and coming to difficult venues, especially the Brandywell, against a real talented side. And they able to dig out of one, let's be honest, we've dug it out. We've had some good moments in the game. We had to really dig in. A lot of injuries coming in the game ourselves. And the players responded, they were fantastic. They've done all the ugly stuff really well. We were able to play on the counter. But it's a massive 3 points for us, but more importantly, it's a big response to having lost on Friday night. And delighted for every one of the players to be able to get back on that bus tonight and show real character, having lost that Dublin derby.
Elsewhere in the Premier Division, there were wins for Cork, St Pat's, Shelburne and Shamrock Rovers. Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola says Bayern Munich will play to win tonight's Champions League clash. They meet in their quarter-final first leg at the Etihad Stadium.
Bayern is not a team built to just thinking it's going to happen. The second leg is built to come here to win. From my experience when I was there, I had the feeling that it doesn't matter where you play, you have to be Bayern Munich, you have to try to win. If they defend more than maybe usual, it's because we are doing well. But if you are not doing well, we are going to defend more than usual. Not because I think the approach from Bayern Munich is coming here, set back, defend 90 minutes, make it 2 or 3 transitions, and after we'll see what happens in Allianz Arena.
Leicester have appointed Dean Smith as manager until the end of the season. His coaching lineup includes former England captain John Terry. I Am Maximus won the Irish Grand National at Fairyhouse. The 8-1 shot came from behind to claim a 4th Grand National victory for owner JP McManus.
Keeping on the near side is Chevrolet. Chevrolet will lead over the last. From on the inside is Duffy Glove. I Am Maximus and pouring home from the centre. Duncan on the near side. And it's I Am Maximus and Paul Talbot for an Irish national. I Am Maximus wins it from Chevrolet. In 3rd place was Duffy Glove. Duncan the Panda Boy, and the only other finisher is 16 the mare Angels Dawn.
I won this race 40 years ago. with a bit of its guys, Edward O'Grady and Tommy Ryan, and you know, I'm just very excited to win it.
Does it mean the same to you today as it did 40 years ago?
I don't think you'd ever get tired of winning the Irish National. I must compliment Paul there and the ride he gave the horse, because if he was listening to me, I'd have said pull him up after going a mile. But fair play to him, he dug in, he stayed very well, and listen, it's really special. Thanks.
Leinster are hopeful Ryan Baird will be available for their Champions Cup semi-final against Toulouse at the end of the month. Meanwhile, Loch Jason Jenkins believes there's lots to learn on their trip to South Africa this week for their final URC games against the Lions and Bulls.
I think for us, it's, you know, keeping that standard. We want to, you know, stay undefeated for the season. You know, I think it's definitely sort of an unspoken goal amongst the players, and so, you know, the trip, even though we've already qualified and we've got the home quarter, you know, these games are still important, and you never know with injuries. Guys playing this week could have to step up into Europe or into quarters and playoffs for the URC. So, you know, everybody's got to be ready. Everybody's got to know the game plan, know their roles. So I think it's very important to you know, take these games seriously.
That's your sport for now. We'll have more for you at 7:30. Now, what's the weather like out there this morning? Here's Derek.
For car insurance, van insurance or home insurance, call the Quote Devil. Unless, of course, you've got money to burn.
Thank you, Sharon. A very good morning. Hope you all had a lovely Easter holidays. Let's pull back the curtains now on the 11th of April, Tuesday, with Derek Cunningham with us on cameras. And I have to say, it is a nice start on to eastern areas out there this morning. Beautiful sunrise, but beginning to slip now through parts of Munster. In fact, we have some very heavy rain hitting mainly counties Clare into West Limerick, through West Cork and into Kerry at the moment. The Aran Islands not escaping either. So a bit of seesaw weather action now to kickstart your morning in those locally fresh to strong southerly winds. Now, across the day, that system in across the southwest will track up across the country. So any morning sunshine we're getting at the moment, make the best of it, because conditions are certainly on the slide right across the day. And those winds will be strong and gusty then for a time, especially across central areas through the Midlands into eastern and southern parts as well. And then they'll veer to the west later on, but a very wet one right across the day. So keep those brollies on standby at 7 to 10, even 11 at best. And finally then tonight, as the system pushes up across the country in a northeasterly direction, we'll get a little bit of a breather for a time. So thunderstorm activity thrown in for good measure as well, because through parts of the west once again we're going to see more rain edge in into those early morning hours, carrying through into Wednesday. So another wet, another very windy Wednesday, and still pretty chilly out there tonight as well. 3 to 4 on average, but falling back to about freezing to 2 across some sheltered spots. So that's how it's shaping up for now. Enjoy the sunshine for getting now. We're back again live, 7:35.
For first-time drivers, young drivers, returning drivers, if you've had an open claim or have had too many penalty points.
The Quote Devil's always got one hell of a quote. It's time now to take a look at this morning's paper, starting with the Irish Times. Its headline: Ombudsman criticises treatment of child asylum seekers. The Ombudsman for Children has criticised differences in how the state was treating families from Ukraine and families seeking asylum from other countries as unacceptable in correspondence to the government.
Private nursing homes get millions in COVID subsidies. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. The private nursing home sector has received 220 million in COVID supports, in addition to the 1 billion the industry gets annually from the Nursing Home Support Scheme, or the Fair Deal Scheme it's now known.
The Examiner leads with 14,500 patients leave A&Es unseen. Nearly 14,500 people left emergency departments without being treated in the first 2 months of 2023.
3 teens die in bank holiday horror is the top story of The Mirror. 3 teenagers have died in 2 separate accidents over the bank holiday weekend.
The Herald goes with "I can't wake them up." A woman who raised the alarm after a horror road crash that claimed the lives of 2 teens and seriously injured 2 others yesterday on the road between Galway and Castlebar described the scene of panic as she heard a young lad shouting, "I can't wake them up."
The Star and the Sun also lead with the same story: girl and boy dead in 6 a.m. crash horror. A Galway community has been plunged into grief after 2 teens died in the horror crash.
And our thoughts with the family of Lucas Joyce, Christy Bowen, and of course David Brown from Laois as well. And finally, the Daily Mail goes with teachers looking for a 280 million pay rise. Teachers are demanding another pay rise and want earnings to match the highest level of inflation or double the current rate. The Education Minister will be told today. Now, also all over the papers today are pictures of unrest that happened in Derry over the weekend. And ahead of his trip to Dublin, Louth and Mayo, the US President Joe Biden arrives in Northern Ireland today to mark the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement.
And we're going to be crossing live to Belfast after this break.
Now, the US President Joe Biden, he's got a few busy days.
Busy days ahead,
of him, before he meets his Mayo relations, not forgetting the Louth relations. Rob Carney will be there standing at the border going, Joe, don't mind the Mayo ones. Come into Louth. His first stop is, of course, Northern Ireland.
That's right. Joe Biden arrives in Belfast today to mark the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement. And the first person he's going to meet is Tommy Bowe, who's there now all morning. Good morning to you, Tommy.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for Joe to land in to come and talk to us very shortly, guys. But yes, of course, Joe Biden is going to land into Belfast later on today, and here to mark the significance of it, I am joined by Kurtis Reid from the Belfast Telegraph. Good morning to you. Ulster University of Ulster Professor of Politics Duncan Morrow, and from the John Hume Foundation, Collette, Cassidy. Good morning to you both. It's great to have you all here this morning. It is a significant day here in Belfast with Joe Biden coming in to visit Belfast in a troubling time here for Northern Ireland in particular. Kurtis, can you talk to me about his itinerary over the first couple of days?
Yeah, so he's going to arrive in Belfast tonight around about 9:20. The White House just confirmed that. And then he will travel to an undisclosed location surrounded by security. It's going to be one of the largest operations in the PSNI's history. Then he will stay overnight, and tomorrow afternoon he's due to give a speech at Ulster University. It's going to be his keynote speech, and then shortly afterwards he's going to leave and he's going to travel down south. He's going to go to Louth. There's rumours that he's going to go to Carlingford. He's planning to do a walkabout in Dundalk to get those lovely crowd photographs and, you know, smiley pictures and everything. And, you know, it's obviously because of his roots as well. You know, he has ancestry in both Carlingford and Dundalk as well. So yeah, he'll be doing the nice little walkabout.
And then, of course, down to Dublin to meet the President, and then, of course, heading off to Mayo. I mean, it is a fairly action-packed 4 days, Collette, but he is going to speak at the University of Ulster, your former alma mater, my own as well. Yeah. How significant is it for the university? Particularly, there's a lot of asks, I'm sure, for Joe Biden to come and speak in different areas, particularly Stormont, but from to speak in University of Ulster is pretty significant.
I think it's a pride, you know, going to be a pride day for past students at Ulster University, current students at Ulster University, future students at Ulster University, as well as the staff. You know, Ulster University is unique, and the fact that it is a regional university. Not only does it have a campus here in Belfast, it has a campus in Derry, Londonderry, as well as Coleraine, and its focus is on upskilling, you know, the future, you know, people within our society to help, you know, with the local economy, as well as partnering with local businesses, enhancing the work that they do, and, you know, altogether supporting the local economy. And, you know, particularly part of the work that Ulster University does as well is, you know, reaching out to them communities who are deprived and feel like they don't have the skills to be part of higher education. So, you know, to be able to do that sort of work, I think it's a no-brainer for it to be in Ulster University.
OK, Duncan, I mean, his speech at the university tomorrow, given what is going on around the Good Friday Agreement and what's happening here in Northern Ireland at the minute, it's probably going to be one of the most important speeches. What do you expect to hear from Joe?
Well, obviously it is his only keynote in Northern Ireland, so people will be watching fairly keenly, I would say, what he's got to say. And America has taken a big interest in Northern Ireland, and even in recent years in the whole debate about Brexit and what's going to happen afterwards, I suppose Joe Biden has led the Americans in saying, you know, we have certain perspectives here, particularly around the border. So he'll be watched, and then more recently with the agreement between the EU and the UK, I suppose he'll be trying to support that and encourage the DUP back into government. But we'll have to see both what he says and what the effect is.
Do you think that he will name-check the DUP
Well, I
getting
suppose
him back into government?
There'll be speechwriters in his own team working that one out, but I would say there'll be a fairly clear message one way or the other. Whether he names a particular party, I suppose that's a political decision, and I suppose they will have thought that one through. But the import of the speech, I think, will be we need to get this thing back up and running now, and we need to see the peace process back properly working again, and that requires some kind of work on the Assembly.
And Collette, you were born 25 years ago, so you've known nothing different from the Good Friday Agreement and the peace that it has brought. But we saw last night petrol bombs thrown at police up in Derry. There has been trouble and rumblings over the last while. Do you worry about where Northern Ireland is going at the minute, or do you think somebody like Joe Biden coming in and the likes of Bill Clinton going in, it reminds people of where Northern Ireland has got to at the minute and where it can go?
Yeah, I think we have come a long way. You know, as you've said, I am 25, and you know the day-to-day runnings that 25-year-olds had 20 plus years ago in the Troubles is a lot different to how I do my day-to-day here. Of course, there is the fear that there might be troubles coming again, but at the same time, I think having Joe Biden come and express that there is still that close relationship between the US and Northern Ireland that in particular John Hume worked so hard to create, shows that and gives reassurance to the people of Northern Ireland that the work isn't finished yet. There's still more to do. There's still pieces of work that needs to be enhanced, such as more investment in deprived areas, such as a higher focus on integrated education and bringing that down to the school systems. So it's definitely going to be plenty of I suppose talking points throughout this visit.
Absolutely. And Kurtis, we're standing here outside the beautiful City Hall. This is the area back in 1995 that Bill Clinton made a massive speech in front of, I think, 80,000 people. Yeah. How significant do you think the US, Bill Clinton, George Mitchell were in terms of bringing together the Good Friday Agreement? And Joe Biden now, how significant will it be going forward?
I mean, there's no doubt that the US played a significant role. That there's, those constant recollections of the late-night phone calls that Bill Clinton made with the party leaders just shortly before the agreement was signed. He really wanted to make sure that it got over that final hurdle, that the political leaders involved in the agreement didn't wobble, and he just wanted to make sure that it was achieved during his administration as well, some would say. But I mean, the US reception is always good in Northern Ireland. I think, if you read the press that Hillary and Secretary Clinton and President Clinton have done in the past week, it's clear that they're both very knowledgeable about the situation. Senator George Mitchell is also very knowledgeable about the situation. They both have, a significant interest here, and it's good to see American leaders, have an understanding of how Northern Ireland works, and hopefully Joe Biden will be able to continue that.
And Doug, we know about Joe Biden's Irish roots and how proud he is. How important is it, though, that he did come to Belfast? Do you think it was significant that he came here first?
Well, I think the politics is all about the North in one sense for us, because the peace process has been the big thing that America has invested in over the last really 30 years. And actually, considering our size and their size, it's pretty remarkable the amount of interest we've had from America. On the other hand, I think when he goes south, I think the story in America may become almost bigger, because Joe Biden is probably the most Irish president we've had since Kennedy, very much up front. And so the pictures from Ballina aren't just personal, although I'm sure there is a big personal element. They're going to be political as well, because they're going to show this guy who is very at home and has, and if you like, made good and made very good in America from just very ordinary roots in the middle of Ireland. So those are both big events, I think, politically, but different types of political events.
Well, it's a really exciting day for the people of Belfast. Joe Biden, the US President, coming here, going to make a speech at the University of Ulster tomorrow. Are you optimistic about the future, Collette?
Yes, I am. There is work to be done, but we have came a long way. To hear what my family went through, and many people at 25, years old, 30 plus years ago, is hard to imagine now. And, we do have to remember the past and acknowledge the past and know that it happened, to learn from that and create a brighter future for my generation and for future generations 25 years and beyond.
Absolutely, absolutely. Finally, Duncan, I have to ask you, Joe Biden did mention that he is talking about running for a second term as US President. I think it would be 82 when he is going to run for that. Is that getting a little bit too old? You're talking about how his little ramp, his runs that we're going to see again tomorrow.
You have to be careful not to be ageist here, and at the same time, the one thing you do look at Joe Biden is That is an older man now. I mean, he's clearly very at the game, but nevertheless, 82. But he has made the decision. Yesterday, he made the decision that he's going to run. So, for better or for worse, we're going to have certainly have Biden, but other candidates will be people like Trump who are also in their late 70s. So we may have very kind of aged group of people standing for election in America in 2 years' time, but that's something to watch.
Duncan, thank you so much. Collette, thank you. And Kurtis, great to have you with us. Guys, thank you very much. We're here in City Hall in Belfast. We're going to be here for the whole show this morning. Back to you guys in studio.
Thanks very much, Tommy. Very interesting.
Welcome back to Ireland AM for a closer look at some of the stories making the morning papers. We're joined by Euronews journalist Shona Murray.
Good morning, Shona. How are you? Secondary teachers looking for a pay increase that will cost, if they get it, $280 million a year.
Yes. Well, I mean, their point is that teaching is no longer a viable profession because of the cost of living crisis. It's impossible to buy a house in Dublin or anywhere around the country. And so they're saying that they need it in line with inflation. And we know that teachers are leaving the country. They're going to Canada, Australia, to the Middle East so they can have a better lifestyle, as in a better standard of living, that they can earn more money. So, you know, you can understand that the profession does need to be made more viable, because there's also some really disturbing quotes from the president of the ASTI in the article, Miriam Duggan, who talks about how the schools, because of the shortage of teachers, are being forced to use unqualified teachers to divert resources away from students with special education needs and drop subjects from the curriculum. So that's really a disaster. I mean, teaching is without, I mean, it goes without saying, one of the most important professions that we can have for the future of the state, of the country. And so something obviously needs to be done to ensure that there are good teachers and that they are, obviously, I mean, you have to have a negotiation around how much of an increase a salary they can get. But you can't have a situation where teachers can't go into the profession after going to college for so many years.
You can say that about the guards, you can say that about so many professions. And Norma Foley has said that she's not going to get involved in these pay talks because there is a current agreement that runs till the end of the year.
Yeah, that's fair enough too. I mean, obviously it's about a negotiation, but there's no doubt that if this is true, that curricular or subjects are being dropped, resources are being diverted away from children with special needs, and unqualified teachers are being used in schools, that's an issue that needs to be addressed.
It's basic economics, supply and demand, and the fact is that teachers are in demand right now. What we're seeing is 3/4 of second-level schools received no applications for an advertised teaching posts in the current school year, and there are unfilled teaching vacancies in almost half of all second-level schools in this country.
So how do you get them back and to stay? But you're right, it goes for every profession. Our own profession, the Gardaí, everybody needs to be able to make a living, have a basic standard of living, to be able to afford to buy a house to live in. Obviously, people have different salary scales depending on whatever else, supply, demand, education, you name it, profession. But at the same time, there has to be a basic floor so that teachers can live in the country.
So, it's true.
So teaching, we'd love to hear your opinions on this, because an awful lot of the time it's like, oh, the teachers are looking for more and they have all these holidays. The fact is, if you start as a teacher, you're earning just over €36,000. You're not getting a house.
You're in college for several years as well. It's 4 to 6 years. You're entitled to earn a decent salary if you put the work in. And of course, if you're in high demand as well, where else are you going to go? Only to another country?
And they're using this 280 million pay rise. It works out at about, if they go between 6 and 8%, it's about €6,000 a year, which isn't really at the rate of, like, inflation is what it's trying to keep level with. What do you make of this? The teachers asking to be like, hi, you lads, can we pay the rate of inflation so we might be able to, I don't know, pay rent? 0896 111 111. We'd love to hear from you, because if you've got a child who's in special ed and they're not getting the support,
it's desperate.
It's heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. Moving on to another area whereby people are not getting paid enough: health.
Yes.
And this is how many people went to the A&E?
So this is interesting. 14,500 people have left the A&E before being treatment. So post-triage, or, prior to go to triage.
And we have to say this is in the first,
first 2 months of the year.
So this is not like the whole year. No. In the first 2 months, nearly 14,500 people just sort of said...
They gave up the ghost because waiting times are on average 11.4 hours in an emergency department. So you go in maybe with a broken arm or leg or cut or whatever, and it's just, you just give up because it's waiting too long, which is, again, unbelievably dysfunctional. because obviously you could have people leaving and they have a very serious issue and they don't stick around. Although, of course, the doctors, once they first see you, will assess whether or not how much of an emergency it is. But nonetheless, it just shows you how difficult it is. And actually it does kind of relate to the last story we were talking about in relation to supply and demand of the profession. Nurses, doctors, again. I mean, we've even seen reports over the past few months about violence and abuse that those people are receiving in emergency units, in hospitals. And of course, why would you stick it if you're not getting well paid, if you're being treated badly, if it's a depressing atmosphere? You go again to Australia, to Canada.
And the rates are
getting.
Exactly. Because when you register, I just wonder, are you still sent a bill? Do you know when you register, you're sort of saying, like, you're getting you're sent your bill for your €100 or whatever. I wonder, even if you leave, I'm sure you are, because they don't know.
You've triage and they don't know.
Once you've probably registered,
Once you've registered, you're still getting your bill for €100. I can imagine that now. Some people, after waiting for 12 hours, and then they leave and they sort of said, I haven't seen one, and the bill comes in the door.
Sure, you've lost the will to live.
The other thing about this story is that the number, I think it was 40,000 cancellations of operations. And people cancelling. But I wonder, I think it's also, is it the hospitals are cancelling as well? So
highest figure that we've had in a very long time. 0896 111 111. We'd love to hear from you on that as well. Two not great stories. We're going to move on to this one that everyone was talking about over the weekend, and I didn't see it at all until I got into work this morning. We've got the video. So this is a video from February of the Dalai Lama.
Oh yeah.
What happened? What's going on here?
He said it's sort of a blessing, and it is a bit. Yeah, it's quite unnerving anyway. But
there he is.
There he is.
Oh yeah.
And he's in India. And there he is with the child. And did he say, suck my tongue?
I don't know. I mean, that's what's being reported anyway.
That the Dalai Lama often teases people he meets in an innocent and playful way.
Yeah, and he apologised.
And he apologised for that.
Yeah, so obviously it's uncomfortable for anybody to ask a child to suck their tongue.
Yes.
Like, regardless of culture or anything like that, it's not something that you could condone.
No.
He does apologise. I think, we just need to probably know a little bit more. The child as well. It's not a great story.
It's not a great story. Listen, let's talk about one that I'm sure has happened to so many people. So you book your train and you book your seat and you get on the train and there's somebody sitting in the seat you've booked, your name is over it, and this happened to a guy. Tell us what happened.
Well, this is a TikTok that's apparently gone viral of a girl sitting in the seat. It's a train I've been on countless times.
Yeah.
I think it's France to Belgium, Belgium, France, one of those ones. And they're almost always packed. And a girl is sitting on the guy's seat and he asked her to leave. And she kind of tries to argue that there are other seats he could go on. And there were. But hold on, the thing I have about this story is videoing that girl. Like, you can have this happens all the time on a train. Look, you might sit towards the window because your seat is crappy and it's in the middle or something like that. And then you wait till somebody comes along and then you kind of embarrassingly go, oh, I didn't know it was the wrong number. But so she hesitates and he kind of has to argue with her momentarily. It's not a big deal.
Let's have a look at it.
Yeah.
We have it here.
I just think that he shouldn't be videoing her.
Just a place available in this...
it's going to be difficult. My place is 103 and I need my place. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm so disagreeable.
Okay. Ask the lady to place her there.
Yeah, but it's my place. But Yeah, but calm down.
Everybody wants their place.
Okay. All right.
I give you a place.
On Irish TV, it happened in Belgium and France. I mean, that's really humiliating for somebody. And he'd no business videoing her like that.
She did get up
pretty
quickly.
Yeah, and even if there was a bit of a row, you still don't humiliate. This is wrong. I just think this is normal day-to-day interactions with the general public. Okay, I'm sitting in your seat. Could you sit somewhere else? No. Okay, I'll get up, move on.
But doing it for clout on the internet,
and now
basically.
Exactly. And now there are people like us arguing about it, but other people saying, he was right and she was wrong. And God, leave people off.
They were very plush seats. Do you sit in the plush seats?
They weren't plush. They're actually quite. They're the normal ones.
They're the normal.
Yeah.
God, all right. They're the normal ones in Europe.
They're quite close together. They're quite close together.
So you sit in the posh ones, do you?
No. Although they are, I should say, much cheaper than.
The other
trains,
ones.
in Ireland, I mean, the trains.
We're doing travel next. Shona's going to say and tell us about cheap train seats as well. 0896 111 if you've had one of those interactions on the train about your book seat or whatever, and then filming people like that.
Filming's wrong.
Well, that's wrong.
Yeah.
That is
I agree with you.
No.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you,
Shona
much.
from Euronews. Thank you so much.
Now, after the break, waves to save money if you're getting a train around Europe. We'll see you after this.
The cheap ones.
staying with us now. If you're planning an upcoming holiday and fancy saving yourself some cash, which we all want to do, you're in luck.
These two have been going at it during the ad break. They actually have the same sort of tips. Joining us now with her savvy saving travel tips is Sarah Adekola. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
It's lovely to have you here again.
We're
doing travel today, so let's talk about hotel prices, where to find the best deals.
Definitely where to find the best deals would be on Kayak, purely because Kayak is basically a travel search engine, and they have this feature that it basically allows you to track the price of the hotel if it drops or increases. So if you book the hotel, book always with free cancellation and select get notified when the price drops. If the price drops, they'll send you an email, so then you can book it at that cheaper rate and then cancel the other one. This is something I do all the time. Recently I went to London and I saw that if by using that feature that it dropped by €73. So yeah.
I mean,
this is definitely something I would do.
Is it hidden in a drop-down menu, or is it right there?
No, it's right. It's right there. It's right there. Just get notified and switch it on, and they will send you the email.
So that's a hotel price tracker on kayak.ie.
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 Okay.
And so you just download that, and
you can download the app, or you can use it on your desktop or your laptop.
But you have to book through Kayak. You have to book the hotel through Kayak.
Yeah.
Okay.
You do, yeah.
Now, a price match between the Hilton and Marriott hotels. How can we do that?
So basically, Hilton and Marriott have this thing called the best rate guarantee. If you find a room in another site with them, but it's basically if you find a room on another site, but it's technically cheaper there. So, for example, if I went onto Kayak and I wanted to book a rate there, but it was €100, versus booking directly with Marriott and Hilton was maybe €105. If you then notify them, submit a claim, they will match that and give you a 25% discount, or you can get 5,000 bonus points. So it depends on what you want to do, but the bonus points are always great because you can use that towards booking more hotels and getting free hotels as well.
Sorry, if it's 105
if it's cheaper on another website outside of Marriott and Hilton,
they won't match it. They'll give you an extra 25%.
They will match it and give you. They basically match it and give you 25%, or you can get 5,000. I suppose to encourage you to book with them because
directly.
Exactly.
They don't pay the fees.
They don't have to pay the fee because typically they have to pay like 10 to 20% to these other platforms for having. They're giving it back to you basically.
Okay.
Let's talk about transportation. How do we find the best transport costs, like taxis, whatever we need when we get to a place?
So Rome to Rio is probably one of the best apps. So this app is basically going to allow you to see all the different modes of transportation for wherever you're going to and tell you basically which is going to be the cheapest. So I did this when I was going to Sicily. I was trying to figure out how is the best way for me to get around. So it's either train, bus, etc. And I saw that by booking with the bus, it was cheaper than going with the train. So it just shows you all the different methods.
It's longer though.
It was longer, but it was actually very comfortable as well.
But everything comes up there.
Everything comes up, and especially if you're traveling, you're like, oh, they don't have Uber here. But if you go to Rome to Rio, it'll show you what the equivalent is of Uber there.
And
so you don't have to do all that search. Everything's there.
Rome to Rio. Yeah. This is fantastic.
Now, God, so many people now, when we're back travelling the way pre-pandemic. Flight cancellations and delays, what are our rights?
Oh gosh, this one is an interesting one because I feel like a lot of people don't know, and there's a lot of money sitting on the table that's technically theirs. So if you check up the EU 261 law 2004, it's basically a regulation that was introduced in 2005 outlining what the compensation and assistance is for anyone who has a delayed flight, cancelled flight, or you've been denied boarding, maybe they've overbooked the flight. And basically depending on the distance, you're entitled to a different compensation. So if your flight is under 1,500 in terms of the distance kilometres, you're getting €250. €250. If it's between 1,500 to 3,500, €400, and above 3,500 kilometres, €600.
And you go directly to the airline?
Yeah, so on most airlines pages like Ryanair and Aer Lingus, if you put aerlingus.com/compensation, it'll pull up the page and you file your compensation.
Now we have to tell people the delay has to be over 3
hours. It has to be over 3 hours.
And if it's like air traffic control,
if it's something
we're
that's
just
out of
seeing
their
an awful lot
control.
in Spain, that's out of their control. Weather's out of their control.
Yeah.
You can't claim compensation
Absolutely,
for that.
you can't claim for that. But a lot of times it's not. It's not out of their control, etc. So I've had to file compensations a lot because I travel pretty much every single week, and I've got raked in a couple of a couple of bob from them.
And if they do cancel a flight on you, they are obliged to put you up in a hotel and meals.
Exactly,
and you can still claim your compensation then as well. And they need to get you to your destination in the quickest way possible.
Yeah.
These two are going to be besties.
Yeah. I could see you travel a lot as well.
Yeah. They're like, oh, Hughes knows his stuff. We have so many tips here that we have to actually get through as well. That Sarah, you might actually come back and do more travel tips with us again later on.
Q&A with you, get viewers' questions on that.
That
because
actually would be
especially
great.
coming into the summer. Sure,
Q&A with Sarah is what we're going to do. Millennial Wealth Sarah is where you can find Sarah on Instagram as she goes back to do her robotics. She's a robotics engineer as well, which I'm still fascinated by and I want to do a Q&A on that as well. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Lots more come to on Ireland AM. We're back in just a few minutes. These two can go back at it again now.
You're very welcome back to Ireland, and we've lots on the way this hour.
We certainly do. It's a look that's all over TikTok right now.
So what is it again? Tell me.
It's different. We're doing Barbiecore, right?
We weren't doing that at 7.
We'll change it because we got it wrong. So makeup artist, the one and only Keilidh Cashel is here. Good morning, Keilidh. Lovely to have you here. Barbiecore. We had the release of the Barbie. Is it what I think it is? All about Barbie makeup.
Absolutely. Lovely, soft pinks. That's what we're going for. I want to show you guys how easy it is to actually wear colour. It's not as scary as what people think.
Yeah, because sometimes when you think of pink, you just think of a bad 1980s music video.
Exactly. Now I'm going to show you how it's super wearable and very easy to achieve.
So, Keilidh, are actually girls going out now and they're doing this because of the Barbie movie?
Absolutely. Yeah, whatever is kind of trended in pop culture, we like to mimic.
Yeah. It's going to be huge. Like,
absolutely.
You're going to come in with pink everywhere.
My mother will be
pink
delighted.
Eyebrows. Oh, no.
I won't be wearing black all the time.
OK, now someone who'd look lovely in pink makeup. What do you think? Eyelashes and stuff. Jack O'Keefe, would you do the Barbie look at it?
I definitely would.
Would you? Yeah, I bet you would. Look at him. Look at the big grin on his face.
I got it. That's my favourite part about coming in here is getting the makeup put on.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I feel glamorous.
Not about the cooking.
Nah, I hate the food.
Yeah,
love the makeup.
Food.
It's very
I'm in it for the fashion, Alan.
Come here, what are you making for us this morning?
Dirty meatball baps.
Why are they dirty?
Because I'm making them.
There we go. We'll explain
meatball
more.
Baps.
Big floury baps, meatballs, tomato sauce, and whipped mozzarella.
Lovely.
Ooh.
Yeah.
When he said dirty, I was like, is he just going to throw them on the floor? I don't know. We'll find out in just a
Tommy
little
be
while.
raging he's not here.
After 9, Amanda Brunker will be here to chat about her new mini musical, How to Leave Your Husband.
And as we were saying, Tommy is raging that he's not here because he's in Belfast all morning and he's patiently waiting the arrival of Joe Biden, who's first on his list is to meet Tommy Bowe.
When he arrives at 9 o'clock
There you go, Tommy. Good morning to you.
Hey, good morning to you guys. Yeah, absolutely. I would love those meatballs. I am devastated I'm missing them. But I am in beautiful Belfast. The sun is shining, of course, ahead of the historic visit of the US President Joe Biden. We've had a busy old morning here so far. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to be talking to singer-songwriter Brian Kennedy. We're also going to be talking to Nigel Carr, their former Irish rugby international, and chatting to them about growing up in the Troubles and how the arts and sport help bridge the gaps of communities. Of course, we're going to talk to Joe Brolly a little bit later on about his special relationship with the President Joe Biden. I don't know. I'm looking forward to find out a little bit more about that. Plus lots more. So yeah, it's all going on here in Belfast. The sun is shining. This is the beautiful Belfast City Hall and it's looking pretty spectacular this morning.
Oh, Tommy wants a special relationship with Joe Biden too, isn't that it? You're only jealous. We'll tell you later on how to do it. We'll talk to you in a while, Tommy.
It might happen, yeah.
It just might, Tommy, and leave it to Tommy Bowe. He'll arrange it to happen. Looks great there in Belfast. I love Belfast.
It's beautiful.
A great city.
Time now to take a look at this morning's papers. We'll start with the Irish Times. Its headline: Ombudsman criticises treatment of child asylum seekers. The Ombudsman for Children has criticised differences in how the state was treating families from Ukraine and families seeking asylum from other countries as unacceptable in correspondence to the government.
Private nursing homes get millions in COVID subsidies. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. The private nursing home sector has received 220 million in COVID supports in addition to the 1 billion the industry gets annually from the Nursing Home Support Scheme or the Fair Deal Scheme.
The Examiner's front page: 14,500 patients leave A&Es unseen. Nearly 14,500 people left emergency departments without being treated in the first 2 months of 2023.
3 teens die in bank holiday horror is the top story of The Mirror. 3 teenagers have died in 2 separate accidents over the bank holiday weekend.
The Herald's front page: I can't wake them up. A woman who raised the alarm after a road a horror road crash on the way from Galway to Castlebar that claimed the lives of 2 teenagers and seriously injured 2 others yesterday, described a scene of panic as she heard a young lad shouting, "I can't wake them up."
The Star and The Sun also lead with the same story. Girl and boy dead in 6 a.m. crash horror. A Galway community has been plunged into grief after 2 teens died in a horror crash.
And as we mentioned earlier on, our thoughts are with the families of Lucas Joyce and Kirsty Bowen from Galway, and also David Brown from Laois, who died over the weekend. And finally, the Daily Mail goes with teachers looking for 280 million pay rise. Teachers are demanding another pay rise and want earnings to match the highest level of inflation or double the current rate. The Minister for Education will be told today, and we've received some messages on the teachers.
Already coming in. Harry says, I work in the education sector. The teachers who are in the job for over 20 years are on absolute huge money, says Harry. Absolutely huge money. Look at the pay scales on the department website. It's the new teachers who need the pay restored, not the old ones.
OK, so we're talking about, it goes from €36,290 to €71,503. So that's, you know, principals or whatever in the Department of Education. But if you're nearing retirement age and you're spending more and more of your money and you're kind of going, OK, well, my pension, now the pension will increase as well. But I'm just, like, we were talking about young teachers coming in, the fact that they're not coming into Ireland.
Yeah.
And that's why they're asking for €6,000 more a year. So for a young teacher coming in, starting on 42,000 is kind of what they're asking. Because no one's getting a mortgage on 36 grand.
Not in this
country. They're not.
This country and the way the houses
no matter where you live. So there's one there. And Patsy says, take a look at what staff in early years education are earning. My daughters both have degrees in childcare, shockingly bad pay and working conditions. Well, your daughters obviously have, if their working conditions aren't great there as well. But completely understand that in early childcare, the money, we talk about that a lot.
We do.
It costs so much money for parents to send their child to go, and no one's making any money.
And we also
like
had
the workers aren't making it.
Yeah, we also had the story there. We read it out there about the waiting times. 14,500 people left emergency departments without being treated. So, and this is only in the first 2 months of this year. So 14,500 people just gave up the ghost and went, you know what, I can't sit here any longer.
And Anne says, a friend of mine was in pain, spent 22 hours on a chair in the University Hospital Limerick A&E. They then spent a further 11 hours on a trolley before they were finally admitted. You can get in contact with us on 0896 111 111 for any of those stories. And we've got an awful lot more coming up on the show because on the way to Belfast to see Tommy in just a few minutes. Stay with us.
Staying with us now, US President Joe Biden begins his 4-day trip to Ireland later today.
The first up is Belfast, and Tommy is there this morning with 2 local legends. Over to you, Tommy.
Hey guys, thank you very much. Yes, I am joined by 2 men who've represented Ireland on many stages across the world, of course, from an Ireland's triple crown in the rugby, Nigel Carr, great to have you with us, and in Eurovision, Brian Kennedy. Wonderful, of course, to have you as well. How could I forget? And many other stages, of course, performing with Bill Clinton back here in front of Belfast City Hall back in 1995. Belfast does hold a special place in your heart, Brian.
Oh, it always will. You know, this is where I was made. This is, you know, if I was a stick of rock and you cut me in half, it would just say made in Belfast, all, you know, in the middle of me, you know. It is absolutely, it shaped me, and then it sent me into the world as a very particular kind of young man, because by the time I got to 16, 17, I'd pretty much seen everything that's possible to see as a human being in terms of the war, in terms of the struggle, seeing people shot dead in front of me, things like that. Maybe things that we kids should never see, really.
You've gone through a difficult time of late, from cancer to cardiac arrest, but you credit your mental robustness from growing up in the Troubles and the likes of the Falls Road.
I can't think of anything else that it can be, because, like I say, when you're a young fella and you go through all of that kind of thing, so then when I was confronted with things that are terrifying in terms of, you know, cancer and the whole journey with that, and then cardiac arrest, I don't know, I was able to find an inner reserve to go, this is going to be okay, I'm going to be okay. And I'm very good at being calm, Tommy, in very chaotic circumstances, I think.
Well,
I learned that here.
The right man for it. Nigel, you are a man who shares similar strength, mental strength as well. Given what you've gone through, can you share your experience of being involved in a really terrible bombing crossing the border, going to Irish rugby practice years ago?
Yeah, and I was back in '87. I was travelling down for a rugby session with the Ireland team just prior to the first ever World Cup, when a judge and his wife were travelling from south of Ireland into the north, and there was a large car bomb at the side of the road which we were involved in. So that was a big thing for me. The injuries sort of ended my rugby playing career, but in many respects there was a positive aspect to that. And it gave me an insight, a better insight into what was happening to so many people here within Belfast, within Northern Ireland. And the sort of things that they were going through, with 3,500 dead, tens of thousands injured. I was injured, but not nearly as seriously as a whole lot of others. So it sort of gave me an appreciation nearly of what many others were going through.
And living in Northern Ireland, but representing Ireland in difficult circumstances, do you think the players in the South realised what you were going through whenever it came to the stage that actually were involved in such a terrible, the bomb going off?
I mean, I think they probably had some appreciation because, people that were associated with the security forces that were involved in rugby, that were travelling to Dublin, would have had plainclothes armed guards with them. The Garda were armed and stayed with us throughout the weekend. But one of the things about sport was the way people came together. One of the guys was in the British Army. The fella beside him, his grandfather was convicted of killing a Royal Irish Constabulary constable. And the Republican family, and yet through sport, everybody got on. Everybody was able to work together, and I think there's a real strong message.
Well, music is exactly the same. It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Well, exactly that. Do you think that arts and sport are a brilliant way of, even the way Northern Ireland is going at the minute, it's a brilliant way of highlighting how important it is to bring people together?
Well, I think particularly music is the language of emotion, and this town has gone through such a huge amount of highs and lows. And one of the things that people can do at concerts, I don't know about you, Tommy, when you go and see whoever you love, it's a release, isn't it? You go along and your shoulders drop. You think, oh, finally, a couple of hours of just being able to let yourself relax. And just remember how important the arts actually are in this part of the world. And
when we see the Irish rugby team, the success that they're showing at the minute.
It's amazing.
And it is players from north and south of the border. Do you think it's a huge highlight and it's a real step forward for the country?
I think it's a great, I don't think sport is a panacea, and music a panacea to sort out all our problems. No. But it is, I think, a great example of how people can, from very different backgrounds, can come together. Doesn't mean anybody has to change their views, but you can still come together, work together for a common purpose. And, the Ireland rugby team have been fantastic this year, and hopefully they'll go on from strength to strength, not only the Grand Slam, with the World Cup coming up in the summer as well.
Yeah, exciting times ahead. Yeah. Brian, we have to mention you singing here for Bill Clinton.
Now, don't tell me you have the clip. Please don't tell me you have the clip.
95. Listen, we're actually fed up watching it. We've seen it that many times. Yeah. Van Morrison was so good that
he was amazing. He was amazing.
Kurtis Seegers as well. I mean, it was a special time in front of 80,000 people here.
Sometimes it's easier to sing something than it is to say it. And Van Morrison and I stood on that stage and sang "There's No Religion Here Today." There's days like this, those kinds of songs. And there were 90,000 people in this T-junction. There were 1 billion people watching at home and around the world. Wow. I mean, for once, the spotlight was on Northern Ireland for the most positive reason possible. And I was so proud. My God, I was bursting with pride that day.
Do you remember when the Good Friday Agreement was signed?
April. Let's see. Come on, help me out.
Do you remember where you were? Do you remember what a momentous moment it was, Nigel?
Well, the Hot Press Awards were here the night before, and then we all went on wandering the next morning. And it was we were wandering around kind of going, this is actually going to happen. I mean, because we'd had a lot of false starts before and all of that, and suddenly we were walking around this city going, it really felt like we'd shifted a gear. Mo Molan, who I was very privileged to know at the time when she was here, she just was one of the greatest leaders in terms of pushing that forward. John Hume, of course. Yeah. I mean, again, privileged to have spent time with John Hume too. But
and
Mo
David Trimble, all coming and putting their differences aside, which was so important.
Exactly.
I think I was a very apolitical animal at that time. Didn't get involved in politics at all. But I do remember there was a Europa event where a number of sports people got together prior to the vote on the Good Friday Agreement to advocate for it, to say that this was a way to go forward. And that was quite an unusual thing for me to get involved in something like that. So it was a fantastic news, whenever the Good Friday Agreement came through, and with all its failures, it's been a huge success in many other regards.
And how symbolic is it that Joe Biden is coming here later this evening, going to speak at the University of Ulster today?
I think it is important. It's a recognition again just of the success there has been. We all appreciate that the difficulties that there still are from a political perspective. There's a lot to be done to work things out.
And the relationship between America and Ireland, island. You know, we are a tiny little island after all. But yet, look at the reach that we have through our sports people, through our artists. You know, we have a worldwide reach. So it's no surprise to me that Biden wants to come and just shine the spotlight on here and say, look, I know it's 25 years later and certain things have changed. Certain things need to keep changing and keep moving forward. So fair play to him for realising that and coming and sharing the spotlight.
And realising that the opportunities are still there for the young people.
The new generation. Even your wee kids that eventually will grow up and inherit this part of the world when we're all kind of grey and, you know, and old and all of that. But, you know, I just think that it's important to keep looking to the future, always.
And how important and symbolic is it at the moment? It's to mark 25 years of the Good Friday Agreement and what sport and the arts can do for this country. Are you proud of Northern Ireland and where it is at the minute, where it can go?
I think I've always been proud of where I'm from. You know, even recognising the deficiencies that there have been much greater in years gone past. But yeah, I think we're moving in the right direction. I think there is huge potential here. I think there's great talent in lots of different regards in music and sport, in business and everything else. So yeah, I'm hugely proud of Northern Ireland. It's great.
I mean, I have to say I haven't always been proud because of the things that have happened. And then when you go into the world and you have this accent, people have a real kind of notion of what kind of person you might be. When we first went to London in the 80s, we were terrorists, according to other people. And now look what's happened. The whole gear has shifted. The arts, people like Van Morrison, Snow Patrol, people like that, have absolutely elevated who we are. And as we say, Belfast doesn't know itself these days. And now we have a city to be really, really proud of and build upon. So let's not forget what happened before, but look to the future.
Absolutely. The sun is absolutely coming up on it. Listen, Nigel Carr, thank you so much for joining us. And Brian Kennedy, as always. Guys, back to you in studio from sunny old Belfast.
Beautiful.
Looking great there, Tommy.
He is looking great there. I think he didn't realise. He thought Joe was in at 9:30 in the morning, not 9:30 at night. Is that it? That's
he was literally waiting to sort of...
We're going to do Ireland PM tonight. Tommy will still be standing there in Belfast. There's lots more on the way. From Baps to Barbiecore.
Yeah, find out what that's all about after the break.
Oh, we've been told where's your bibs? We're told, we need bibs, do we? We're going to need
Where's
bibs
our
for
bibs?
this. Where's
Get
the
our
bibs?
Our Ireland AM bibs.
We're going to be looking like all the children at home having their breakfast.
Because it's going to get messy in the kitchen because Jack O'Keefe is here to show us how to make. He's calling them dirty meatballs. Dirt.
I spell it with a U.
Doherty, yeah. Dirty meatballs.
I can hear my mother at home screaming at TV, I didn't teach you to talk like that.
What are we having?
We're having a meatball bap. So some floury baps, like a burger bun with meatballs, red sauce, whipped mozzarella. Wait till you see this, right?
Sounds amazing.
I'm excited here. Hot pan, really hot. Some oil, any kind of oil that you want. Now here, I have some meatballs that I've pre-rolled this morning.
Yeah. Did you put anything into that, like seasoning?
Just chopped rosemary, salt and pepper. That's it.
And no binding agent?
No binding agent. Just binding agent stuff wrecks my head. You don't need breadcrumbs. You don't need egg. You don't need anything. Like just roll it into a ball.
That's the way I would do it. Now I never. Would you put a binding agent?
Do I look like I put binding agents with anything?
Right. Bang the meatballs into a pan. Let them sizzle. Give it about a minute. Flick them. Minute. Flick them. Simple as. While they're browning off.
Hold on now.
Right?
I have been in a kitchen for about 6 years in Virgin Media Television, and every single time someone makes it, the binding agent, what? So that's no binding agent. You just roll them together.
They won't fall apart like.
Well, why would you need a binding agent in the first place?
People say
they fall apart and they crumble. But the trick when you're making your meatballs, just use your own hands. Don't use a spoon. Make sure they're clean. And just work them in. The heat from your hands.
It's tight enough as well, surely.
Exactly. The heat from your hands actually renders some of the fat in the meat, and it actually acts as its own glue and sticks it all together.
Okay.
So just be heavy-handed.
Yeah. Totally.
Right?
Totally get that.
Food processor, and then we're going to get some mozzarella, and I'm going to use the West Cork buffalo mozzarella.
Oh, nice.
Pop that in. Some ricotta cheese.
Oh, Jack.
In on top of that. And inside that is some lemon zest and a little splash of lemon juice as well, okay?
Oh, yum.
And just give it a buzz. Not even a minute.
Yeah.
And you're left with this whipped ricotta mozzarella that I'm going to use.
It tastes lemony.
It's a little bit zesty, which cuts through the fattiness of the mince in the meatball.
So what kind of... Do you buy good mince then if we're doing this? Is it like full lean mince or do you just still like a bit
For this,
of fat
I'm using actually lamb mince to give it that Easter effect because we're still in that Easter time. You can use beef steak mince, you can use pork mince. If you're a hunter or anything, you can use venison mince. Doesn't matter. whatever you have knocking
You're
around.
a hunter.
If you're into the wild stuff, I'm a culture, Alan, right? I'm a culture. I have lads who drop off bags of meat at my house.
If you're a hunter, go for the...
I was not expecting.
I'm just giving people ideas.
I'm wearing the jacket for the hunt yesterday with the beagles.
If you're a hunter at home, good morning and welcome to our video.
Hunter-gatherer here.
Look at the way they're lovely and brown. They haven't fallen apart. In on top of that, some chopped garlic. There's about 2 garlic cloves.
Oh, I love that now.
Little tiny pinch of chili flakes. Alan doesn't like too much spice. Little pinch of brown sugar. See, my pinches are little.
What's the brown sugar do? Just
because
sweeten it up.
the tomatoes can be quite acidic and heavy, and the sugar just adds that lovely Moorish umami kind of kick to it. Some good quality canned tomatoes. I use the cherry ones like this, and as it's cooking, I just start smashing and crushing them because they release loads of flavour.
Okay.
And it's better than the pre-chopped ones.
No problem like canned tomatoes, no problem at all?
No, that's canned tomatoes, perfect. If you have a load of overripe real tomatoes, hang them in.
Okay.
Right? Bring it to the simmer.
Might be in the fridge.
But it reduces very quickly, doesn't it?
It's very quick. And then I do it in the oven just to make life easier. That's really all. Into an oven at 180 degrees for about 10 to 12 minutes to fully cook them through. Right? Now, for the ones I prepared earlier, and you'll see how much is reduced down inside in the oven into almost like a thick paste coating the balls. Give it a toss to coat them up, because you don't want it too saucy for your baps, because it's just going to make the buns completely soggy.
How long? 15 minutes, is that what you said?
Yeah, 50 minutes at 180.
Wow. Okay.
So if you keep them in the pan, then obviously just keep watching them, yeah?
Yeah.
You couldn't be able to... What kind
Jack.
of pan? What
Do you know
kind of
that
pan
Tommy
is
isn't
that?
here?
It'd be fine. Oh, yeah, at home, actually, thanks, Alan, for that. That's a very important note. If you don't have a frying pan with a steel handle, if it has a plastic handle, do not do that.
Put it in the oven.
The smell is not worth it. Right? Transfer to an oven tray. Or just leave it on the hob, it's fine. This is the kind of thing that you're going to need to put into your mouth and stand back like that with the legs spread. Especially Mary with your white shirt on.
Stop it now.
I thought you were going to go.
I was going to say. You were waiting on me to say something.
It's only the two of them. They look at each other and they're like, "Who's going to go first? Who's going to go first?" And I'm like, "I'm not laughing at the baps. I'm not laughing at the spreading the legs wide."
Isn't that a Hamlet moment right there?
That is beautiful. Have you put on the ricotta?
And the ricotta is in it and everything. And there's some basil pesto.
Hold it there. They'll get a shot of it.
Look at that.
That's a thing of beauty.
That's art right there.
I'm going to claim
knife. No, there's no. He didn't bring any knives.
I always forget to bring you cutlery. Hold on a second.
I just want a knife to cut it because I don't trust myself.
I know where everything is hidden.
There we go.
Is that a knife?
No, it's a fork.
It's a fork.
Can I have your big knife there?
You can, of course.
Yours good. Thank you, darling.
Now, okay. So the cheese and everything on it. Hold on. Are you actually going to go for it?
Of course I'm going to go for it.
Lob it in the gob.
Lob it in the gob. You're going to lob it in the gob, Murren. Lob the...
Haven't lobbed the gob since
There
I've
you
been a
go.
very younger.
I'm being very polite now, and I'm just
Look
going
at you, a pure gentleman with a fork.
That is absolutely delicious.
And you know what? Like, I'm a filthy animal. When I'm doing this, I always crumble some cashew blue cheese into it as well.
Oh, my
I love that
God.
kick of blue cheese. I kept it a little bit neutral today, but try that with blue cheese as well. Or
That
camembert.
is so good. What's it? Pesto? What's
Just normal store-bought pesto.
No.
That is absolutely delicious. Jack. Yes, people need to make this.
Very nice.
And you know what? It's epic. Wrap it in tin foil, go off on your hike and eat at the top of the mountain. And then you don't feel as guilty eating it.
Oh, look at you. Are you
And it's a
going
way
to-
of getting me to the top of the mountain as well. All I'm thinking is, those baps, those baps.
Those baps.
Yeah.
He's always thinking about those baps, ladies and gentlemen.
And there's a
I'll eat it here, but I won't be at the top of the mountain. Thank you very much, Jack. Thank you very much for that. Now, coming up,
Jack.
the Barbiecore makeup trend. It is a thing, and we're going to be telling you more after the break. With your baps.
It's time to talk makeup on Ireland AM, and the Barbiecore look is the latest trend taking TikTok by storm. And here to talk us through is the fabulous makeup artist and entrepreneur, Keilidh Cashel. Good morning, Keilidh.
Good morning.
How are you
Thank you so
doing?
much for having me.
It's lovely to have you, and you're already starting. Now,
Yeah.
we mentioned it earlier on. We said coquette, and then I said Barbiecore. They're kind of the same thing?
Yeah, it's just that really kind of like hyper feminine makeup look that we're all kind of really leaning into at the moment. It's kind of quite fairy-like as well, I kind of think. But it's kind of playing with these like really romantic tones. And again, I always find that people are afraid to wear colour. So I'm going to show you guys how to do it and how easy it is.
Because it does feel like sometimes when you are wearing highly romantic tones, as you call them, that you're highlighting places. Like for me, I'd be there going, oh my God, you're going to see every single wrinkle if I put this in a certain area or anything like that. It's not like that.
No, and I actually feel like really pinky blushy tones like this are really youthful as well. So what I'm doing here is I'm just taking my blusher and I'm applying it to the high points of the cheeks. We were always taught to apply it here. But no, if you actually apply it to the higher points, it's actually going to help lift the face as well. And then another little trick, what I like to do is if you just close down for me, Fa, I like to take my brush and actually blend it up onto the eyes as well. So it's kind of acting like your blusher and eyeshadow kind of all in one. This is kind of like a quick little step if you're kind of running out the door and kind of 2-in-1 type of job. But I like to blend it up into the eye like so and kind of connect it round. So you can see it just adds a little flush of colour.
So it is really ethereal. It is the sort of thing that you are thinking that it's a very soft makeup.
Exactly. Yeah, really, really feminine, like what I was saying. And then for the eyes, then I always get asked, oh, I don't know how to wear colour. I don't know how to play around with it. It's the exact same as you would use your brown shadows. You're just switching out the colour.
So, when we watch, Never Been Kissed, or if you're around in the 80s and the first time, with Josie Grossi and the pink eye makeup and it's like a streak.
Yes.
Like people had a hard time with that. They might be getting flashbacks.
That's the thing. I feel like people are still scarred. It was the same whenever blush started coming in. People were so afraid of blush because they overdid it. But if you what I like to do is use very light layers and just blend it up very, very softly. If you go in with too much, it's kind of harder to blend it out. Whereas if you go in with light layers first and build it up, you're kind of able to control that a little bit more.
Okay, see, when you say layers and I'm sitting there and I see what you're doing, right? But it always feels like, should there be a lot, like when you bring it all the way up to the brow bone and up to the, like I can see you there, you're up at the, you're up at the actual eyebrow. Yeah. Is that what we need to be doing?
Yeah, so you can see as well the way I'm holding the brush, I'm holding at the very end. So I'm not up here digging her eyeball out. I'm using a very light hand. The kind of lighter you are, the easier it is to blend as well. So that's what I'd recommend. And again, because it's that kind of softer, more romantic tones, you don't have to be as precise with it. The kind of more blended out it is, the better actually.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So with that, it is building layers. So do you go light from dark or what?
Yeah, I usually go from light to dark. That's how I like to do it. And the little rhyme that I kind of say is the darker the colour you're using, the smaller the brush you use, and the closer to the lash line you keep it.
The closer to the lash line, closer to the lash line, the smaller the brush.
Yeah, because you've got more control over it then.
Okay, and then we're going sparkles.
Yeah, well, I just think sparkles is like the nicest and easiest way to kind of step up your makeup look as well. Again, I feel like people are afraid of shimmer, but I actually feel like shimmer is the easiest thing. Even if you make a mistake, it's the easiest thing to cover it up. So I just applied a little liquid glitter there, and you can go in and blend it out with your finger. I'm just using a brush because I've got claws. I don't want to poke her eyeball out. So just very softly blending the edges of that, but it's super, super easy to use. And you see how that just kind of like added so much more dimension to the eyes.
God, it really did.
It's beautiful. And then another little thing I want to show you just. See with the eyes, it's the same as say like a dress. Whenever we wear a black dress, it makes us look slimmer. If we're wearing like a lighter dress, it makes us look bigger. It's the same with your eyes. So you want to be, if you're wanting to kind of make your eyes look a little bit more doll-like, a little bit more like feminine or whatever, go in with a cream eyeliner straight into the waterline if you look.
Okay, so this is, watch this, because I use a cream eyeliner every single morning because I think it makes me feel more awake.
So you already know, you're setting the trends then, that's what's happening.
But it's not, because with white it can really stand out and sometimes it's quite noticeable, whereas with the cream it kind of blends in, right?
Absolutely. Look, you could be doing this for me now.
I'm not, it's the one thing I learned. Yeah, the one thing I know about this.
You can describe. So cream I find is just a little bit more wearable, whereas white, again, is just a little bit too stark. It's not as natural looking, say, but it just makes the eyes look so much more, just a little bit more wick.
So if you're sitting there and, you're 25, 27, 26, 27, 28, 29, grand. Like say, you're in 30s, 40s, 50s, and you want to have a bit of crack.
Yes.
Can you?
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
Just go with
yeah, everything I've done, like you absolutely can wear this look. Again, it's that kind of feminine, really soft. Like it's supposed to kind of be this kind of like soft look. It is quite easy to do as well, and it's going to suit absolutely everybody.
Yeah, especially if you're going to the cinema to see the Barbie movie. I think you need to do that. What are we doing with the lips for this trend?
For the lips, then again, that kind of Barbie or soft kind of look. I know we all love our lip liner, but something I've been loving to do recently is actually just applying the lipstick straight to the center of the lips. And then what I do is I just take my finger, you can use a brush or your finger, whatever you like, and I literally just blend the very edges.
Yeah.
So it's funny, you're kind of given that like just been kissed kind of look. It's just a little bit softer. It's not as harsh. With a lip liner, you get a little bit more definition, but by blending it with your finger, like I said, it kind of gives that more like worn-in look. And you want to use a lip colour or a lip balm that's kind of close to your natural lip, because it just means when it blends off then throughout the day, it looks natural.
Okay.
So it's not like a big harsh contrast. It's that it's actually blended in beautifully with the skin.
And with this, because you're kind of blurring there, it's that sort of blurred line that it doesn't have to be harsh.
No.
And if you're going over your natural lip line, that's all good.
Absolutely, yeah. That's actually what I like to do is I like to blend it slightly over my natural lip line because it kind of gives kind of a little bit more of a poutier look. Now, I'd only do that in the centre. If you're kind of wanting to kind of make them look a little bit bigger, focus more so on the centre of the lip and then kind of come down to your natural lip line at the outer corners.
And with this, we've got so much shimmer going on.
Yes.
Is there is matte makeup? Matte makeup is back, right?
Absolutely.
Where we're mattifying everything.
Yeah.
So if you're doing this sort of a look, you mentioned if you were going to be putting on some powder.
Yes.
How you would do it with a sponge?
Yeah, you can absolutely use a sponge if you like. I do like to use a brush though as well, but a lot of people actually have been going back to, you know, the little powder puffs that we used to use like years ago. It's all the same things coming back, but yeah, I do like to use a brush as well though.
But if you're using, say you are using a powder puff, I use here to mattify me during the ad breaks, right, with all the lights. If you're doing that, do you need to, you know the way people are wetting their sponges and everything these days, do you want to wet it or is it fine being dry?
You don't really have to. Like, it's kind of personal preference. I personally don't do it, mainly because I'm too lazy.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine with me.
And I forget all the time to do it. So I think a dry sponge is fine as well. Again, it's kind of just to blur this kind of areas. People are still keeping it nice and glowy towards the outer corners of the face, but it is more so towards the centre that's kind of becoming a little bit more matte, a little bit more brightened. It's called cloud skin actually as well. That's another trend. There's a million trends.
Cloud skin.
Like cloud skin. So it's kind of softer in the centre, kind of looking like a soft cloud as such.
Okay.
That's very in at the moment then as well.
And have you seen people with the South Korean, the K-skin with the scalpel? People are putting on their makeup with the scalpel.
I know. I don't think I could trust myself to do that.
It was intense. I was watching it this morning for some strange reason because I wanted to look at this. Look at Aoife, doesn't she look absolutely fantastic? It's so glowy.
Yes.
And gorgeous. Don't be afraid of it.
No, don't
always
be.
Try it.
I know.
You can always see Keilidh online on your Instagram doing your videos all of the time and also bring us to weddings with her where she looks fantastic. And it's always great fun watching what you're doing. Keilidh Cashel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
The entrepreneur and founder of Cash Beauty as well, for a look at what's coming up in the next hour. It's over to Alan.
Thank you very much, Muireann. Now, after 9, the always entertaining Amanda Brunker is here to tell us about her new musical. Plus, Tommy's on Biden watch in Belfast. We'll see you here in a few minutes.
Hello, welcome back to Ireland AM. Do you know what I'm going to say?
What?
We've lots to come between now and 10 a.m.
We sure do. By all accounts, her new stage production is not for the faint-hearted. Amanda Brunker joins us this morning now. Amanda, why is your stage production... Well, if you're wearing that hat out front, that's why it's for the faint-hearted. We're loving it. That's a glitter ball hat if I ever saw one.
Well, you know, I just needed to tell people how camp this show is going to be, so I just thought, bring a prop just to,
Do you want Alan?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is especially for you. It's very heavy, though. Might be too heavy for little Alan's head.
For my little head.
For little Alan's head.
So we're talking about your new mini musical. We're calling it a mini musical.
That's because there's only a little amount of music in it. The rest of it is comedy and kind of jazz hands, you know yourself.
Of course, Amanda has a disco ball cowboy hat in her house. Like, it just makes perfect sense.
Doesn't everybody?
Now it's time to find out what's going on. Are we going to Belfast to say hello to Tommy?
Yeah.
Hello, Tommy,
Good
are
morning,
you there?
Tommy.
There he is.
There he is.
We are indeed.
At City Hall.
Hey guys, how are you getting on? I am in City Hall. Yes, of course, behind me is where President Bill Clinton spoke to over 90,000 people back in 1995 about the Good Friday Agreement. Of course, we are in Belfast because President Joe Biden is going to be touching down here a little bit later on. We have a busy final hour coming up. We're going to be speaking to two of the North's funniest comedians. We're going to get their lowdown on life in Northern Ireland. We're also going to be speaking to Joe Brolly and about his special relationship with Joe Biden. I'm interested to find out a little bit more about that. Plus, Brian Kennedy is going to sing us out a little bit later. So yes, it's going to be an eventful whole hour still to come up here in Belfast.
Tommy, was it 80 or 90,000? You keep saying 80, 90,000. Was it 80,000 or was it 90,000?
Well, the numbers aren't quite accurate at the minute, Alan. I'm going to say 85,000. How about that?
We haven't counted from back in the 90s. Give them time.
I thought it was 80,000, and then Brian Kennedy tells me it was 90. So, do you know, who am I to argue with, Brian?
Anywhere in between.
Anywhere in between.
Anywhere in between.
Yeah, that's all good. Looking forward to talking to you a little bit more.
And did you know, at home, this trivia question, that Joe Biden will be the 8th US president to visit Ireland?
Oh.
Now, can you name the others? We'll leave it with you. We'll do the list just for the end of the show, maybe?
I'm scrolling through my head.
So he's the 8th, so what were the others?
Sorry, I'm
Yeah. She's on it now.
Let's
She's
find
on
out
it.
how the weather is shaping up for the day ahead. Derek, are we
We're
going to meet
thinking
Brolly?
Clinton, Reagan, was Kennedy, Nixon here as well?
Look,
We're trying to work it out here, and I know Tommy's on Biden Watch up in Belfast. Of course, we're coming to you live from Carlingford tomorrow because he does have connections there up around Dundalk and through the Cooley Peninsula as well. So we'll be live from now tomorrow. But between then and now, we've plenty of rain to deal with, plenty of showers pulling up across the country. So if we're getting the bit of morning sunshine, guys, make the most of it because it's sliding, unfortunately, right across the day. Rain on the way.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Moran has the 8. Moran has the 8.
I'm not going to say it though.
We're not going to say it.
So competitive. When
Yeah.
when Tommy's in the studio, I have to be the competitive one. That's it.
Text us in if you know the 8 presidents who have visited Ireland, sitting presidents who've visited Ireland.
Welcome back. Now, he's meant to be on holidays, but we found out that Joe Biden was going to Belfast. And you're like, Tommy, will you roll out of bed there and head over to City Hall? So he's had a very busy morning in Belfast, and now he's chin-wagging with 2 of the city's funniest comics.
So it's over to you, Tommy.
Thanks very much, guys. We are joined now by 2 of Belfast's funniest faces. One is a Cork man who has moved and settled in pretty well in the north. Of course, he has worked from everybody from Russell Howard to Jason Manford. Andrew Ryan, great to have you with us. And the other who swapped being a Derry girl to being a stand-up comic who has seemed to be selling out shows all over the place. Diona, Doherty, great to have you both with us.
Hiya. I love the way you said that we had funny faces.
Well, yeah.
Because I think it's just Andrew's face is funny. Mine is pretty normal.
Andrew, OK, let's not start getting too upset with each other at the minute. We're all about peace and reconciliation here at the minute. Andrew, let's talk about you. You are, of course, a proud Corkonian, but living up here in the north. How have you found life in Northern Ireland?
Oh, great so far. I think when I was growing up as a kid, like going to school and stuff, every morning when I remember going in the car, you'd be listening to the news, and every day there'd be something happening up here. You know, you would terrible news stories, petrol bomb shootings, you know, attacks and all that kind of stuff. So, but being from Cork, the north might as well have been Australia, because it was. I couldn't understand it. It was like so far. It was like a completely different world. And then when I moved here, what I thought it was going to be, it turned out to be the complete opposite. You know, I moved here during the pandemic, and I was only here for a couple of months. And then I moved back to London, and then when I was in London, I totally missed it here.
Really?
So yeah, so what I thought it was going to be like, I thought it was like, oh, you can't go here, you can't do this. People are very divided and all that. I've found it a very inclusive place.
You're welcome.
Up here, like, you know.
You're absolutely welcome.
There you go, Julie, you're going to take credit for all of that, because you are a Derry girl, but moved to Belfast. You've written a stand-up, sellout show, The Bridesmaids of Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
Is there something different about The Bridesmaids of Northern Ireland?
Much more aggressive, I would say. Demand to be paid. Yes, I'm pretty sure you can hire bridesmaids. I think that's a job. But yes, Bridesmaids of Northern Ireland was like a really successful. It was the first show I'd written, like a full comedy play on my own, and it did really, really well here. Last year, surprisingly, I was sort of blown away by its success. So it's now turned all of the UK and the Southern Ireland as well. So that's really exciting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it because you're now going out with the girl from the north as well, Brian as well, or Andrew? Sorry.
It's not me.
So there might be.
We have an announcement.
There might be Bridesmaids of Northern Ireland in your family, in your life eventually as well. Would that be something to look forward to?
No, well, I go out with a girl who comes from a unionist background.
Okay.
And I'm obviously.
They still have bridesmaids.
I know they do, yeah, but it's normally the second or third marriage.
So what happens when you turn up with the Cork jersey on?
Oh, they love it. See, this is the thing. This is what the North, what people can think about, especially if some people from the South think like, oh, unionists and nationalists, you can't integrate. It's never an issue. It's never brought up. And it's something that I would have thought was an issue, but it's not. Like, people just get on as they would do anywhere else, really.
We're using Andrew as an experiment.
Yeah.
Well, he seems to be settled in. He's pretty happy.
But like when I moved here, I tell you, the maddest thing about when I moved here, I moved to a unionist area, and I was moving my furniture with a furniture company. And so they rang me to say, right, Andrew, I was moving the stuff over from London. They rang me to say, right, we've got your stuff in Dublin, Andrew. We're just waiting on a van to get it delivered up to Belfast for you. They rang me the following day and they said, listen, we're having trouble
getting somebody to drop the furniture to your house because nobody will go to that part of Belfast in a southern registration car.
Right.
And I was like, what are you on about? He goes, oh, we find it a bit dangerous for us. And I'm like, I live here.
Yeah.
It's totally fine.
Yeah.
They eventually did find somebody, but they would only drop it to me at 7 a.m.
Oh, really?
They did not want, they want to be in.
When all the bad guys are sleeping.
Where all the bad guys are sleeping.
They don't get up yet.
When they were like in and out. And he turns up in his van with my furniture and he's like, oh, I wouldn't be hanging around here in a sudden reg car. And I just thought to myself, what do you think this place actually is? And I think the media will tell you all the negative stuff in the news, but the actual day-to-day living is as normal as any other place.
We are lovely.
I mean, Diona, you make a joke out of this, but this is a perception that a lot of places have. And you were involved in Dairy Girls as well, which I think highlighted to a lot of people the sense of humour of people in the north.
Yeah, and I think the success of Dairy Girls has really highlighted the humour in the north. Like it's its very own specific style of humour, and I think that that show allowed the world to see a different side to that time where it wasn't just the Troubles. The Troubles were a real backdrop to those characters. Their troubles were their boy troubles and their teenage troubles that we all experienced. So that was like the international element to it. I was in the first series playing the Ukrainian like sort of exchange student, and everyone's
so
like,
you're a Dairy Girl, but you didn't
don't use
get
a Dairy
to use a Dairy accent.
Well, tell me that's acting. I'm so good at it.
Well
It's
done.
crazy. And but I was in the first series, but I wasn't in the second or the third, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. I hear Lisa McGee's doing great, so whatever.
You're not bitter at all, are you?
I don't even think about it.
I mean, Lisa's a big viewer of this show as well, so she's watching maybe.
Yeah, if there's a movie, like.
And
a week's work.
You need the Ukrainian is back again. You're the right person for it.
I look forward to Cork Boys being made.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dairy Girls and Cork Boys. Let's just do that.
You could play the person from Belfast.
Yeah.
Show, that would be perfect. The last episode, though, it did bring up the Good Friday Agreement, which is a really special moment. And of course, with Joe Biden coming to town here at the minute, it's a symbolic time.
And it was handled so beautifully as well, because I think I remember the Good Friday Agreement coming through the post in my house whenever I was 9. I'd like to say about 1 or 2, but I was definitely closer to 10. And I remember that moment. I remember my parents going through it and it being like this big. For me as a child, it didn't feel, I was so sheltered from the sort of the violence and the terrible things that were happening. But as an adult now looking back, you can reflect and go, that was the best thing to happen. The North in recent years should allowed us to live in a world of peace and smartphones.
Absolutely. and Andrew, finally, I mean, you have a podcast, Cork in the North.
Yeah.
Do you think people from the south, the perception has changed and there's a lot more people moving and living in the north from the south?
In the last census here in the north, 40,000 southerners have moved. Not say have moved, but now live in the north. Okay. And I think that's an amazing thing to know that there's people coming up from Dublin and Cork and Galway and all that to move here, whether it's for work or relationship or something else. I think when they come up, they're very surprised at how great the city is. And I completely fell in love with the place, and I'm, so far I'm going to stay. And I hope that people from the south realise that this place has great opportunity and there's great things that this place can do. And I just feel that hopefully the politicians here can really move it forward. And with Biden coming now, President Biden will be a bit of crack, and it's good PR for the place.
Well, it seems that they've got your PR right for the brief to Joe Biden. I'm just going to be speaking to him later. Of course, your podcast is Cork in the North. You've got a stand-up coming up in Seachurch in Ballycotton as well.
Later on this month,
exciting to look forward to as well. And Diona, your podcast, Remember When?
Yeah.
And of course, Bridesmaids is going on the road in August and September too. Thank you so much for joining us, Andrew, Ryan, Diona. Doherty. Right, there we go. We've had the laugh of the morning. Back to you guys in studio.
Thank you
Thanks very much, Tommy. Now, coming up after the break, it's the musical that comes with a health warning. She should have a health warning. Amanda Brunker. Look at her with her glitzy hat and she's all jazz hands.
It's just as well we're friends, Alan. Really
I'm telling you, we're going to be chatting to the lovely Amanda Brunker after the break.
I'll talk to you in a second. Can't wait to see what's going to happen.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, our next guest has done everything from modelling to writing best-selling books and has been part of the Irish media for over 30 years.
Tiger, that, isn't it? The media landscape. Amanda Brunker, hello, how are you?
It is actually terrifying. Over 30 years. Because I was talking to somebody there the other day and I was like, I did Miss Ireland 32 years ago. I don't even feel 32. Now, I know I look it, but sure,
But You were so young.
Well,
like when you were.
I was a woman of the world. I was a woman of the world.
What age were you?
So I started modelling when I was 15 and I was 17. I was Nadine Coyle before Nadine Coyle.
You were, yeah.
Because I'd lied about my age.
1983 or 1985, Mummy? Which one
What
is
did I say?
What did I say? That was you lying about it.
But I didn't know I was going to win the bloody thing. So, you know, I was only going in for a bit of crack.
In fairness, it did launch you. It was a great platform to launch people back then. Not so much now, but then it was a big deal.
It was like you were on the front page of all the newspapers having your breakfast. Do you remember the tiara and you were sitting there having your breakfast?
Yes.
I was like, oh, what is going on? This is very surreal. But it was kind of one of those weird things. Like it was not like I'm the ultimate tomboy, and then all of a sudden to be wearing high heels and the modelling.
And there was a time in Ireland when there wasn't a thing that could be launched from something to do with a betting shop to a government minister's campaign.
We were only talking about this last week.
Without a woman in a bikini in Stephen's Green.
I could have been your woman.
But it was so weird. It was such a weird thing, and it was very Ireland-centric. I went through, after we were talking about it last week, I went, look, not really a huge thing in the UK, not really a huge thing in America. In Ireland, slap a woman in a bikini and get her out there with a big sign.
I know, in fairness, Glenda, I had kind of, that was kind of slightly after my time, to be honest. That was more Glenda Gilson.
You were allowed to stay inside, were you?
Yeah, no. I was far too cool for that. I'm not getting out there. Now, don't get me wrong. It's too cold. I did a few of the swimsuity things, but no, when I was modelling, we had awful hickey clothes. Like, I mean, my early kind of books are of me kind of wearing kind of, you know, middle-aged Aylwin clothes. But I was happy. I was, like, getting paid. And I was, like, there was a time I was possibly the richest kid in Finglas. You know what I mean? I had more shoes and handbags. I didn't know what to be doing with myself. But it was, you know, it was great, and I was so lucky because it was so exotic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, the modelling in the late 80s, early 90s. Jesus,
Can someone put that on your Wikipedia? At one stage, the richest kid in Finglas. I love it. I love it. But my God, the state, like, you know, for me, I just always remember you being there. Like, I always remember Amanda Brunker. And you've always made me... But you've always made me laugh. You never take yourself seriously. And I loved what you did recently, where you headed off to Donegal. Realty in the Gaeltachta.
Well, don't start quizzing me on the Gaelga now.
You'll have to give us an outline or two.
Stop,
but this is you and Des Cahill and Fred Cook and Oisin Mullen. You headed off to the Gaeltachts.
Yeah, so I was asked. Now, I gave up TV. I hate doing TV because everybody goes, oh, look, you're very fat. I don't like that. What are you wearing? Don't like that colour lipstick on you. I'm like, oh, couldn't be dealing. Yeah. So I'm quite happy now to be kind of behind the scenes. But I was asked to go up to the Gaeltacht, and I was bored stupid after COVID. And they were like going, would you like a week in Donegal and people will hand you dinners and all you have to do is kind of like, you know, try and learn Irish? I said, I'm there. And like going to the Gaeltacht as an adult is great because you get to drink bottles of rosé every evening with your Bannon tea.
There you go.
I had the best time. We became besties now. I love her.
So were you bad? You'd know Irish. Were you like school even? I'm just so bad. I'm ashamed
Alan,
to say.
you might find this hard to believe. I wasn't great at school.
Right.
I was a little bit absent. So me and Irish wasn't great.
Just Miss Ireland, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Modelling at 15. School, what's that?
Yeah, I was driving around the place at 17. I said, I'm not going back to school. Are you having a laugh? Yeah. So not a great business model, obviously, but I was just kind of an unusual case study. But anyway, we went up to Donegal.
So much fun.
It was brilliant.
I loved watching it.
Now, we were the bizarrest group of people. Like, none of us had anything in common. But we all got on great. And it was just, I think we were all just happy to be out.
To be out of the house.
Did you learn any Irish?
Do you know what? I actually had great conversational Irish by the end of it.
Really?
And then I came back.
And you've lost it all.
And I tried to speak Irish to my family and the kids and everything. They kept laughing at me. And then I just stopped.
That's always what happens when people do that.
I was gutted.
Give us something. Go on, say something.
Nothing.
She doesn't want to.
Nothing.
And we'll call the Gumdolgadi and Lara.
Oh, yeah.
I can sing you the national anthem, but I'd clear the room.
Yeah. Now, you do have 5 people flying from Donegal to Dublin for the opening night of your brand new play.
So I've written a show, and you went to my last
Curiosity.
one.
It was brilliant. It was
last year.
great fun.
So this one is called How to Leave Your Husband. the mini musical. But yeah, I actually have 5. What are you looking at?
Now, we're looking at Conor Clear. Now, people might know Conor Clear because he used to do the weather here on Virgin Media Television. Now...
What a picture.
Has Conor been in the gym? Is that his body? Is that...
Well, there is another poster, and I have put disclaimer, not actually Conor's body. But it's to give the feel. We need to sell. We need to sell.
So what's it about? How to leave your husband?
How to leave your husband. Well, it is for the Dublin Gay Theatre Festival.
Yes.
So, and this year they're celebrating 20 years of the Dublin International Gay Theatre Festival.
Right.
So, I was going to say, so while it does have a gay theme, it's written for a gay man who is leaving his husband.
Oh, really? So it's that? So, God,
so,
all right.
I know.
I'll be taking notes.
No, Alan, it's not a manual. It's not a manual.
RSVP, get on it.
So, yeah, but it's like anything, you know, love, heartbreak, disappointment, it's all universal. Like, I mean, everybody can identify with it. And it's a kind of a very camp kind of comedy. Like with most of my stories, there is a kind of a bit of serious stuff. But yes, there was 5 people flying down from Ranafast to go see the show on the Tuesday.
Not fabulous.
I'm thrilled with myself.
Because in fairness, I was blown away by Curiosity last year. I thought, like, and as you say, it hit, you were like in stitches laughing, but then it was some lovely, really poignant moments in it as well.
That was the best-selling show of the Gay Theatre Festival
and then
last year.
Sorcha won Best Actress
Yes.
at the Festival Awards, which is great. So no pressure to Conor now to get Best
Poor
Actor.
Conor Clear. I swapped the awards last year. No pressure.
I'd say if everyone's at home going, is this in any way autobiographical? Is this what's going on?
Definitely.
Are you like a gay man leaving your husband? We didn't know about it all the time.
Hang on a second, I'll pull off the mask. Yeah, no, it's. Do you know what? At the end of last year, at the end of the festival, I had an idea for this show, and I had the name, and I said, right, I'm going to do this, and I just thought it was such a great name that it's going to spark people's kind of imagination. So, like, I mean, it is. There's a lot of fun. Like, I mean, as you said, a health warning. You can't be too prudish coming to this show.
Right.
Because there would be colourful language.
Yeah.
But it is a night out. And the great thing is it's on in a place called DV8 on James's Street, and you can get there's a full bar there. So you can come,
Very
have a show. Well,
important.
it is. You know, when you're having a night out. And the thing is, my last show was on in Trinity last year, and everybody arrived and said, where's the bar? And I said, there's no bar.
Trinity's too posh for a bar.
No, everyone discussed it.
And Amanda brought this in as a prop for us this morning because it is the Gay Theatre Festival.
It's so heavy. And per Conor, it's only just arrived.
Does he have to wear that?
He has to wear this. There's a big finale.
Oh, he wears it,
There's going to be a big finale number, and he's going to have to wear this, but it's really heavy.
It's very heavy.
It's fab.
It's amazing.
Fab.
We love it. OK, so this is the new mini musical. It's called How to Leave Your Husband. It's part of the International Dublin Gay Theatre Festival. It's from May 1st to 6th, and people can find it at
gaytheatre.ie. So you just go to gaytheatre.ie and you look for
You click on your show.
Well, you click on the festival programme and you have to scroll down. They made it hard. You scroll down.
Make sure you scroll down for Amanda's one.
Once the richest girl in Finglas, Amanda Brunker, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
I'm going to have to use that.
You'll have to use that. Thank you. Thanks for staying with us. Now, all morning, Tommy has been based in Belfast, awaiting his audience with Joe Biden a bit later on, who's the 8th sitting US president to visit Ireland. Now, we asked you earlier on, could you name all 8?
Okay.
They are?
We're going to pay this one off. I'm not looking.
Okay.
John F. Kennedy is who started. Then we jump all the way forward to Ronald Reagan.
No.
What?
Richard Nixon!
Oh, that was it. I had that earlier on. Then we've got Ronald Reagan. I'll read the order. Ronald Reagan. Then we've got Bill Clinton. Sure, he was here loads. George W. Bush. Remember all those rendition flights? Barack Obama. Donald Trump. And now, of course, Joe Biden. There we go.
There we go.
Moneygall, you've still got the plaza.
I tell you.
We don't know what we're
What are we going to give a Biden what? Yeah. So Tommy's on Biden watch, and we're going to cross over to Belfast. Good morning, Tommy.
Yeah, thanks very much for that, guys. I think Joe Biden gets in at 9:30 tonight, and it'll be about that time by the time you guys finish rhyming off all those names on the auto cue. Thanks very much for that. Yes, I am in Belfast. I'm here with the former All-Ireland winner, turned All-Ireland, pretty much a celebrity pundit on everything from Gaelic football to politics and everything in between. Joe Brolly is with us. Good morning to you, Joe.
Toby.
Listen, Joe Biden is coming to Belfast. He's a bit of a close friend of yours. I gather you're over in the White House very recently.
Well, you know, I don't like to say too much. There could be issues of national security at stake, Tommy. Pass the Chardonnay, Mr. President. No, I mean, I've gotten to know him through my wife, who's very close to him, and then through our, you know, I'm an ambassador for the hospice, so he came to Mayo between vice president and becoming president, dug the sod on our hospice in Castlebar. Then hosted a dinner which was massive, and we saw the impact of having someone of that stature involved in a fundraising campaign, and so we were able to raise several millions to build a state-of-the-art hospice. And this week he's going to come back and see the completed hospice with our vulnerable neighbours and friends there. And what we did, actually, the spot where he dug the first sod, quite clearly a man who'd never handled a shovel before. The spot where he dug the first sod, we have a stone dedicating the hospice to his son Beau Biden, who died in hospice. Wow. You know, who served in the military. So it will be a very special moment for everyone, and because there's something very sacred about the hospice, a free service for our most vulnerable friends and neighbours at their end of life.
And it just shows Joe Biden how proud of his Irish roots that he is, and to go and to do something like that is special. But you mentioned your wife Reid as well. I think is she a distant relative of Joe Biden? When you got married, didn't he give you a certain gift?
Well, her dad, Brenton Blewett's his third cousin, and he gave me his presidential cufflinks. He knows about my organ donation work and that campaign, and it's something close to his heart, so I've got the gold presidential cufflinks.
Wow. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? You mentioned you see the impact having somebody with that magnitude getting involved in the hospice. Yeah. Joe Biden coming to Ireland, coming to Belfast as well, to speak tomorrow in the University of Ulster. You would have to think that he is going to mention the Good Friday Agreement. It is 25 years on from that signing. How important a moment was that 25 years ago, and where do you think we are now?
Well, I mean, it's been the most spectacular peace process in the history of the world, and you know, watching the film and documentary footage over the last 5 or 6 days, it's extraordinary how quickly people get used to violence. I mean, I was watching, you know, for example, 1993 when we won the All-Ireland, and we were just so used to it, the violence and the mayhem all around us. Like, our hurling club senior captain died on the hunger strike. You know, another fellow from the town who my cousin Gary worked for as a butcher, he was on the hunger strike and was pulled off when he was almost blind. You know, in 1993, the Shankill bomb went off shortly after we'd won the All-Ireland. You know, horrific atrocity in the Protestant Shankill Road, killing a lot of innocent civilians. And then there was a massacre in Greysteel in Derry 5 or 6 days after that, after we won the Derry Club Championship. 5 or 6 of the senior players on our way back, we went into the Rising Sun and had a pint just in solidarity. These things were normal for us, and now, I mean, my children, like my oldest boy is 22, and true story. About 3 years ago I was talking about internment. So what happened was the British introduced detention camps in the north, 1972. So they took, over the course of 4 years, they took about 2,000 men, you know, 95% of them from the Catholic background, and detained them there without charge, including my father. He was there for about 3 or 4 years. And I just happened to be talking about internment, and our Rory said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "You know, Granda, you know, he was interned for," and he said, "What did he do?" I said, "Well, he wasn't charged with anything, or he was just taken away." Now we got a phone call 3 or 4 years later to say pick him up. He could not believe that was true. He thought I was pulling his leg.
Did you make a point of not passing that on to your
yeah,
children?
We never talked about anything like that.
Do you think that that's a common thread with grandparents and parents now for the younger generation, to kind of shield them from those days, to look forward to maybe more opportunity and a brighter future?
You see, the Good Friday Agreement, it unleashed a wave of euphoria. I can still remember it vividly. I mean, nobody wants violence, you know, all that murder, all that, you know, suffering. I mean, it's mental. And so it unleashed a wave of euphoria. And we still had that block. The DUP rejected the Good Friday Agreement. You know, Arlene Foster, Jeffrey Donaldson, people like that. And so you've got this small rump that have held out against reality, against progress. But increasingly we see with the growth of the Alliance Party, with younger people in our society mixing, sectarianism is abating and abating and abating all the time.
And I think that is going to be a speech that you would expect to see from Joe Biden today, talking about that and trying to bring back power sharing, but also to try and bring that young community into the fore here in Northern Ireland as well. I have to finally ask you as well that there's a special day coming up on Friday the 14th of April, 65 Roses Day, which is, you know, you mentioned about the organ transplants you've been heavily involved in as well, but it's a special day for you also.
Well, 65 Roses is very close to us. 65 Roses, it's called that because that's how you teach children with this horrific condition, cystic fibrosis, to pronounce it. And so it's a massive day for us this Friday. We have almost 2,000 people suffering from cystic fibrosis. It's a Celtic gene. And 20 years ago, the life expectancy of someone with cystic fibrosis was 22 years of age.
Wow.
And a horrific life of being unable to breathe. The only cure was a double lung transplant. Now, we've had transformational drugs in the last 5 or 6 years. And that has been hugely important. But this is silent suffering. And so if anyone wants to buy a purple rose this Friday, it's enormous the impact that it has just to show support for our friends and neighbours who have cystic fibrosis, and also vital fundraising for one of the best charities that's out there.
Good on you, Joe. Yeah, of course, that is Friday the 14th. And if you do want to get more involved in it, check out cfireland.ie. And if you want to hear more from Joe in a lot longer form, check out his new podcast with Diona Fanning, Free State, available on all podcast platforms. He's been telling me about it all morning.
I never mentioned it.
But listen, he's telling me about his meetings with the Secret Service and the whole lot. But we'll go into that another time. Joe, it's great to have you with us.
Thank you
so much. And
Tommy.
enjoy your meeting with Joe Biden later in the week. Back to you guys in studio.
Thank you
Thanks
so
very
much.
Tommy.
That's Tommy trying to get on the podcast.
Yeah.
Can I come on? Can I come on with you and Diona?
Can I be your guest when you meet Biden?
When you meet Biden,
Yeah.
there we go.
There
That's
you go.
what will happen.
Put me on the list. Now, lots more still to come on R&D, and we're back after this quick break. Thanks for staying with us. Now, earlier on, we were talking about booking a seat on a train and a TikTok video that, was it in Belgium?
In Belgium, it went viral.
Yeah, it went viral, where this man had booked a seat and he got on the train and somebody was sitting in his seat. Have a look at this.
Yeah, we can look at it here. And we've just gotten lots of messages on this one today.
My place is 103.
There are not just a place available in this.
It's gonna be difficult. My place is 103 and I need my place. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so disagreeable.
Okay.
Okay, the woman barely, she just went, oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's quite rude.
In fairness, yeah, we were saying that we thought it was terrible that he was videoing it in the first place and coming down. But she was quite understanding. She just went, okay, so yeah, he went through. He shouldn't have been videoing that in the first place.
Margaret said, I had seat booked last week on the Limerick to Dublin train. When I got on, a woman was sitting in my seat with 3 children. I explained that one of the seats was mine. My name was on the display. She turned and said, well, I've got 3 kids. So I kindly said, well, I have it booked, but I didn't make a fuss as she had small kids. I sat in a different seat, but it turned out that seat was booked for somebody else getting on. I'll not be doing it again in the future. She was so rude about it. Sorry, but book your seats, especially if you're going to take up a 4-seater. It doesn't even cost extra to reserve a seat, so there's no excuse. If the kids were that small, could 2 of them not have shared a seat and given the other woman a seat? When did it happen? I never remember getting a seat on the bus. It was always like, give your seat to someone else when you were a child.
Totally. Get up there and let that person sit down.
Yeah.
But on a long train journey, I suppose it's different on a bus journey.
But
on a long train journey.
But you see, seat wasn't booked.
Yeah, I know, but you see, I understand that because I think maybe some people will get on and just sit down. They don't, because the name is but look you'd never do it on a plane. If you got on a plane, you sit in your seat.
There's lots going on. We've had loads pro and against seats like that. So we're going to maybe talk about booking seats on trains at some stage. Yeah. But thank you to everyone who got in contact. Now, coming up on tomorrow's show.
On tomorrow's show, we chat to, she campaigned for No More Page 3 campaigner and was a big success. Jo Cheetham is on to talk about her new book.
Remember Page 3? That was so weird.
So weird when you think of it now.
So weird. It's gone since 2015, I think. Susie Lee reveals what to do with those leftover Easter eggs. breaks. Plus, Derek is in Louths. We're stalking Joe Biden around the country.
We're going to be following him all week.
Yes.
Now, before we go, let's cross back to Tommy in Belfast.
Thank you very much, guys. It's been a brilliant morning here in Belfast. The sun is still shining. Unfortunately, Joe Biden didn't arrive on time to come in for the interview. We're going to sing us out, not with Joe Brolly, but with Brian Kennedy to sing out a wonderful morning in Belfast. Brian, take it away.
So this is for all you at home, and of course for Mr. Joe Biden, you're welcome. The song is called You Raise Me Up. Are you ready? I'm going to try and get the right key now. When I am down, and oh my soul, so weary, when troubles come, and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. Sing it with me if you can. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be.